Hello everyone and welcome to another casual review. Today I'm talking about Pikmin 2. Pikmin 2 takes place right after Pikmin 1 when Olimar reaches his home planet Hakotate, and it turns out that the company that he works for is in incredible debt, and so his boss sends him and a new character named Louie back to the planet that the Pikmin reside on, which we kind of know is to be our planet in the future, and collect a bunch of treasure and relics from that planet to pay off the company's debt. Poor Olimar doesn't even get a chance to see his wife and his family before he's sent off back to the planet that he was stranded in. That's company loyalty. So in this game you can control two pilots, not at the same time, you have to switch between them, Olimar and Louie. And so there are some more unique maneuverability here. There are certain puzzles that revolve around this mechanic where one pilot will throw up the Pikmin up to a higher ledge and then toss it to the other pilot. And then there are certain enemies that you'll have to switch between your two pilots in order to get to the back of the enemy. I found this rather cumbersome. It wasn't really something that was easy to maneuver around. I feel like this would have been really suited to a two-player mode. I don't think this game is two-player mode, at least the campaign. I know there's a versus battle kind of thing, but it really seems suited to two players and then each one controls a pilot. Or just because I've played Pikmin 3 or 4, I know all of the features that have been introduced then, and it would have been really nice to have the feature from Pikmin 3 where I could have two different squads and I could tell one squad, hey, start walking towards this location while I'm working on this here, but that's not really a feature here. And so I ended up usually just kind of playing this as if I was only playing one pilot, and I know that doesn't really help my Dandori skills, but it just was easier for me to keep track of. It seemed like the only reason that I would want to separate the two pilots is if the Pikmin are working on a project like building a bridge or destroying one of the gates, and then I just have a pilot right there to monitor when those Pikmin are done with that specific task. Let's talk about Louie for a second, because Louie sucks. I do not like Louie. Does anybody like Louie? He kind of ends up being the doofus, and especially in Pikmin 4, Louie's just your mission's going to go a lot better without bringing Louie along, in my opinion. This game only has 4 different levels that you can select. That's either 1 or 2 less than Pikmin 1 from what I remember, but they make up for this in the concept of caves. And if you've ever played Pikmin 4 before, you're familiar with these caves that are scattered throughout the level, and they're basically like these semi-generated tiers as you go deeper and deeper into the cave. Each level has a specific mechanic that revolves around, or a specific enemy that populates the area, and so you have to navigate through these caves that have varying levels of depth here as you are collecting all the treasure that you possibly can. The caves in this game are notoriously difficult, at least the end level games, because the problem with caves is there's no way to replenish your Pikmin as they pass on. So if something may happen to your squad of Pikmin, really your two options are to restart the entire cave or close out of Pikmin 2 and then reboot it back into it, because it saves after every time you clear a level. And I actually ended up doing that a lot, because when I said that Pikmin 1 was quite the bloodbath, Pikmin 2, I had no idea what was in store for me with Pikmin 2, because it's so easy for just your squad of 100 Pikmin to get completely demolished by something so inconsequential. Certain things like maybe a boulder falls from the ceiling and lands on all of your Pikmin and you just see 100 little ghosts fly up, or maybe one of the bugs spits out a rolling boulder and it just rolls over your whole group of Pikmin. And there's a lot of big insect boss things around here that can completely demolish your Pikmin, and that can be absolutely devastating when you're in a cave and you're 10 levels deep at this point. At that point, just reboot Pikmin 2 so then you can start that level over again. There's a particular cave that I'm thinking of, and it's not even the final cave that gave me the most trouble, but there was this one where it was like 10 levels deep, and each level, if you spent more than 5 minutes in this level, then you get this it's called a water wraith, and it's basically like this water creature that's driving on these steamroller cylinders, and he'll just start roaming around your level, and if he runs over your Pikmin, then it's an instant kill for those Pikmin. And so it was very, very frustrating, this particular cave. I ended up totally giving up on the idea of getting all of the treasure in this cave because I needed more than 5 minutes in each level in order to accomplish that. And so I was just trying to get through the cave as much as possible because I did not want to deal with this thing. The real way that you defeat these things is you use a new Pikmin called Purple Pikmin. And Purple Pikmin are kind of like Rock Pikmin from Pikmin 3. Basically, when you throw them, they're really fat, and so they basically like slam down on enemies. They're very heavy hitters. And then there's also another new Pikmin called White Pikmin, and White Pikmin are like poison Pikmin. So they're pretty nifty for like, you can kind of sacrifice a White Pikmin and it will do damage to the enemy because they're like poisonous. But there's also like poison traps that the White Pikmin can destroy, and they have really big red eyes so they can see hidden treasure that's buried under the ground. And you kind of know that where treasure is because you have this treasure meter going off, and it kind of detects when you're close to a treasure. This thing is beneficial, albeit very, very annoying because it makes this really loud ba-ding, ba-ding, ba-ding noise anytime you're near a treasure, and when you're like right on top of a treasure, it just goes bing, 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 and you're like, dude, I get it. I know that I'm next to a treasure. Like, can I turn this off, please? So you're basically like navigating caves and these 4 levels, collecting treasure to try and pay off your company's debt. One thing about the Purple Pikmin and the White Pikmin in particular is they don't have their own onion, and the onion is the thing that your Pikmin bring bugs to in order to generate new Pikmin. And so the only way to get new Purple Pikmin and White Pikmin are in certain caves. Basically, there are like these flowers that you can throw your red, yellow, or blue Pikmin into, and it will turn them into the purple or the white Pikmin. And so certain treasure and certain obstacles require you to have purple and white Pikmin. So if you don't have any in your squad, let's say a giant boulder fell down from the ceiling randomly and crushed them all, then really the only way to generate them is go back into the caves and get more, which I do not like this idea at all. If you're going to make Pikmin so dispensable and easy to kill, there should be an easier way, in my opinion, to replenish those troops if they die. And with red, yellow, and blue Pikmin, this isn't really a problem because you can collect more bugs and flowers to generate more, but the purple and white Pikmin ended up being so precious that at the beginning of each level, like in a cave, I would divide up my squad, and you can kind of like organize them by groups of Pikmin, and I would say like, okay, I'm leaving the purple Pikmin and the white Pikmin back at the entrance of this level, and I'm only going to grab them if I need them to do a puzzle, and I'm not going to really use them for combat, which sucks because they have really good combat capabilities, but they're just too indispensable. I can't risk losing the purple or the white Pikmin, and so they ended up being like super valuable, and I didn't really feel like I got to utilize them much. The caves also feature like these Pikmin Bulborb hybrids. Bulborbs are like the basic enemies in Pikmin, and so they're basically like little Bulborbs with leaves coming from their top of their heads. I think they were featured in Pikmin 4 as well, but they're fun. Unfortunately, they can't leave the cave with you, but they're basically like an all-in-one kind of Pikmin, and so they can do like anything that all the Pikmin can do, which is really cool. So I'm kind of 2 minds when it comes to the caves themselves. I like the idea of caves, and I kind of like the idea that the squad you take in with you in the cave is like the squad, and if you lose any members, then you can't like replenish them. But at the same time, this was also super frustrating with like how easy these Pikmin can die, and so especially the late game when you get these really long caves full of super dangerous obstacles, it ended up being like a really difficult challenge, and I want to say this is probably the most difficult Pikmin game in my opinion, just because of all the challenges that await you and how easy the Pikmin can die. And so sometimes, especially late game, this ended up being really frustrating, just having to reboot Pikmin 2 because I don't want to have to replay through all the levels that I already did. But if like 50 or more Pikmin die, then it's just like that's pretty much my only option unless I want to restart the entire cave and rebuild up my squad. So it's a fun idea, but on execution it ended up being more frustrating than it was fun. I will say though, because this is the most challenging Pikmin game, I have never been more engaged in a Pikmin game before because I was so invested in protecting these Pikmin and just like getting through this thing. Plus there's no time limit when you are in caves. If you've ever played a Pikmin game before, there's always like a day cycle and you pretty much have to like get back to your ship or at least gather up all your Pikmin before the day is out. Otherwise you lose all your stray Pikmin, and so then you have to like go back into the planet. But when you're in the caves, there's no day cycle, so you don't have to worry about completing it within the time limit unless you're in that super annoying cave with that steamrolling water wraith. On top of the land, there is still a day cycle, but unlike Pikmin 1, you don't really have a time limit on how fast you have to perform this task. And so the days just kind of end up being like a, hey, try to beat your record, try to do what you want to do before the day runs out. Which, like, whenever I play other Pikmin games and I do have like a, hey, you have to beat this game in 30 days or whatever, it is just like a little incentive to be as productive as possible, but it's never really been an issue. I don't think I've ever gotten a game over because I ran out of the amount of days that I have to do. That being said, I did play through everything that I wanted to in this game in 20 days. I did collect all of the treasure, and then Pikmin loves to do this thing where, hooray, you beat the game, but did you? And they'll like roll the credits and everything, but then there's always like more to do. And so in this game, it turns out like Olimar leaves Louis back on Earth as he goes to planet Hakotate, which like, good, leave him in my opinion. But then you are accompanied by Olimar's boss at that point, because I did gather up enough treasure to pay off the debt, but then this is kind of like your post-game stuff. So there's that 4th level gets unlocked, and that has like a bunch of caves, so that's like a ton of extra content that you can do. And then this is your opportunity to go save Louis in the most difficult cave with probably the most difficult boss in the game, and it is your opportunity to go and collect all of the treasure that you missed. I did 100% complete Pikmin 1 because that was manageable in my opinion. I think there was 30 ship parts. In this game, there are like more than 200 treasures, and that's a really big ask of me to go around and collect all of the treasure, because some of them are really obscure or some of them are buried deep in caves with a ton of levels. And so I did not 100% complete this game, but I did decide after the credits rolled, okay, I'll go back and explore all the caves and go rescue Louis, I guess. Because I really did want to see like what some of these endgame bosses are, because when you think of like Pikmin, you think of kind of cutesy, kind of colorful, fun, but some of these endgame bosses in Pikmin 2 were so difficult and challenging. Like you'd face these like giant bug robot hybrids that like shoot guns at you and flamethrowers and stuff. It's pretty crazy, and I kind of am here for the hardcore Pikmin endgame. Like some of these bosses gave me more trouble than bosses in Elden Ring did. However, the combat in Pikmin was never really the highlight for me. When thinking about it, I really like Pikmin games that showcase the strengths and weaknesses of all your different types of Pikmin, and you have to solve puzzles to navigate the world and collect all the treasure. And so I really liked this game in contrast to the first Pikmin game, where they showcase a lot of the Pikmin strengths. You have a lot more different like elements like electricity. Okay, now you know that you need your yellow Pikmin. Or there's like a bunch of fire and you're like, okay, now I need the red Pikmin. And I like that I can kind of like strategize what Pikmin I want to use for what scenario. Not that the combat is like awful, but if you're going to have really intense combat where I need to be really alert and able to dodge a lot of obstacles, you need to give me better movement, because the Pikmin are so slow at following you. Not quite as bad as Pikmin 1, and they do give you more opportunities to create like the fully matured Pikmin with the flowers that are bloomed on top of their head, where they will like actually move faster. But still, like it doesn't give me it gives me enough reaction time, but I guess it doesn't give my Pikmin enough reaction time to follow Olimar where he's supposed to go. And so it ends up being like really frustrating, this kind of like twitchy, quick-paced combat where all my Pikmin need to dodge everything. It almost sometimes seemed like a hindrance in having like a whole group of 100 Pikmin with me at all times, because that's just like increases my area that I can get hit and potentially lose a lot of Pikmin. And so sometimes it actually ended up being beneficial, like only bringing 30 Pikmin with me and leaving my other 70 back at the ship. And I still think cycling between the different types of Pikmin was quite clunky in this game. Basically, it's the same as Pikmin 1. You hold the Pikmin and then you keep pressing the shoulder button to like switch between your different Pikmin, which one you're gonna throw. But that doesn't mean like once you're done throwing all of your red Pikmin, you're not accidentally going to throw like a precious white or purple Pikmin into the fire after you're done with that red squad. And so I actually found it was beneficial to like divide up my Pikmin and, okay, I'm only taking red Pikmin because I know that this next obstacle is going to be fire, which like kind of increased the length time, because I have to keep walking back to the safe area and like switching between which squad of Pikmin I wanted to take with me, which is kind of a cool idea, just like planning out what kind of squad you want to take and giving this a lot more thought than you would in Pikmin 3 or 4. But I don't know, I guess I'm just like, I'm pretty mixed in this game in terms of what it forced me to do, what it had me put up with, but also like the challenges and the ways that it made me think about how to navigate further. And it is just like an interesting game. Like, despite this being based on a GameCube game, I know it was remastered so the visuals look better, but it really is such a unique franchise. And I just really like the world building. I really like the Pikmin themselves. They're just so cute. And sometimes when you're just wandering around the world, they'll just start humming a little tune as a group. But that just makes it more devastating when that whole squad gets squashed and you see 100 of these ghosts fly up in the air. Like, I love the Pikmin, but also I gotta treat them as being dispensable to serve my own needs of collecting all the treasure on the planet. Overall, I'm going to give this game a 3 out of 5. There were definitely frustrating moments here where I just did not want to play this and I needed a break from it, but also other times when I'm just like super engaged and I'm putting a lot of thought into it as well. I have now officially beaten all of the Pikmin games besides Pikmin Bloom, of course. And yeah, this one is definitely the hardest in my opinion, at least as far as like the campaign goes. Well guys, that's it for me. Let me know if you have any questions or comments about Pikmin 2, and I'd love to hear what you have to say. Otherwise, I'll talk to you later. Bye!